In a small Missouri town, on an October evening in 2009, a mother told her 9-year-old daughter to be back by 6 o'clock. Her daughter never came home. What investigators uncovered over the following days was a crime so carefully planned and so coldly documented that it raised questions nobody in that quiet community had ever thought to ask. And at the center of it all was a 15-year-old girl named Alyssa Bustamante, someone who, on the surface, looked like any other troubled teenager. Something about this case stayed with me in a way I wasn't expecting, and I think once you hear the full story, you'll understand why. So let's start from the beginning. Alyssa Bustamante was born in January 1994 in Missouri to two teenagers who were not prepared for parenthood. Her mother was only 15 at the time of the birth, and by most accounts, struggled significantly with raising a child. Court documents would later reveal a history of misdemeanor offenses connected to substance use. Her father fared no better. Addiction was a constant presence in his life, and he eventually ended up incarcerated on a felony assault conviction, keeping in touch with his daughter through letters sent from prison. By the time Alyssa was around 8 years old, she and her younger brothers were placed in the care of their grandparents, who relocated the family to St. Martin's, Missouri, a small, close-knit town of just over 1,000 people sitting right beside Jefferson City. They were trying to give these kids some stability. And they genuinely tried. When Alyssa started showing signs of depression as a teenager, they took her to counselors. When things escalated in 2007 and she was rushed to hospital after harming herself and overdosing on medication, they got her into therapy and had her prescribed antidepressants. But on the outside, Alyssa looked like a moody teenager. Heavy eyeliner, black nail polish, side-swept bangs, the kind of look that reads as typical teenage rebellion and nothing more. Nobody around her could see what was actually building underneath. And a 9-year-old girl named Elizabeth Olten, who lived just across the woods, was about to cross paths with it. A knock at the door, a simple request to go outside and play, and the evening that changed everything for one family in St. Martin's, Missouri. Before we get into what happened, I want to take a moment to talk about Elizabeth Olten, because she deserves more than just being a name in this story. Elizabeth was 9 years old. Her mother, Patricia, known to everyone as Patty, described her as a genuinely cheerful kid. She loved kittens, loved the color pink, and threw herself into everything she did. On the evening of October 21st, 2009, she was at home rehearsing lines for an upcoming school play when a knock came at the front door. It was Emma, a 6-year-old friend from just across the stretch of woods nearby, asking if Elizabeth could come out and play. Elizabeth begged to go. Patty hesitated, but felt reasonably confident her daughter would be back before dark, given that Elizabeth had always been afraid of the dark. She agreed, but gave a clear instruction: back by 6 o'clock. The two girls ran outside. That was the last time Patty saw her daughter alive. 6 o'clock came and went. No Elizabeth. Patty called the neighbor's house and was told something that stopped her cold. Elizabeth had never arrived there at all. Police were called. Hundreds of community members came together to search the surrounding area. Investigators pinged Elizabeth's cell phone and traced the signal into the nearby woods, redirecting the search there. During the sweep, volunteers came across something that made everyone stop. A hole in the ground, freshly dug, that looked very much like a grave. But Elizabeth was nowhere to be found. Investigators worked through everyone in the area that evening. During questioning, Emma mentioned that she had fallen into a thorn bush at some point and called out for her older half-sister who had been somewhere nearby while the two girls were playing. That half-sister was Alyssa Bustamante. When police questioned Alyssa, she was calm and cooperative. Said she had no idea what had happened to Elizabeth. Police saw no immediate reason to suspect her. What they didn't know was that Alyssa had already gone home, written in her diary, gotten dressed, and attended a full church service since the moment Elizabeth disappeared. When investigators searched Alyssa's bedroom, what they found on the walls and inside a diary would shift the entire direction of the case. When FBI agents entered Alyssa's bedroom during the search of the Bustamante home, the rest of the house had been completely ordinary. Her room was not. Writing covered the walls, some in pen, some in what agents suspected could be blood. Among the items found was a hand-drawn image that turned out to be a drawing of Emma, Alyssa's own 6-year-old half-sister, with slash marks across her head and arm. Postcards from her father in prison were pinned up nearby. Then they found the diary. Flipping through the pages, they came across entries describing violent thoughts, including one about burning down a house with people inside, which investigators believed was a reference to her grandparents' home. Then they reached the entry dated October 21st, 2009, the day Elizabeth vanished. The entry had been heavily scribbled over in blue ink. Almost everything underneath it was unreadable. The only words visible through the scratching were the last few: "I gotta go to church, LOL." Agents took the diary as evidence. Later, using ultraviolet light, 2 words were recovered from beneath the ink: slit and throat. It was also confirmed that Alyssa had taken an unexcused absence from school that same day, her first one on record. Sergeant Rice brought Alyssa back in for questioning, keeping the diary out of sight at first. When he finally placed it on the table and told her they had read the entry, her story started to crack. She claimed she had walked into the woods with Elizabeth, but that Elizabeth had hit her head and died accidentally. Rice didn't accept it. He asked her directly, had Elizabeth's throat been cut? Alyssa said yes. Her grandmother, who was sitting beside her, broke down and had to leave the room. What followed was a detailed confession. Alyssa explained that she had used Emma to bring Elizabeth to her, sent Emma home once Elizabeth arrived, and then led Elizabeth into the forest. She strangled her, stabbed her multiple times, slit her throat, and buried her in a grave she had prepared beforehand. Then she walked home, cleaned up, and went to church. After the confession, she led police to the body. Elizabeth was found partially buried just beneath the surface, covered in mud and leaves. The full diary entry, once recovered under ultraviolet light, was unlike anything in the case file. And what investigators found next suggested Elizabeth may not have even been Alyssa's original target. When the full October 21st diary entry was finally uncovered, it confirmed what investigators had already begun to suspect. In her own words, Alyssa described carrying out the murder, wrote about having to push through the initial shock of what she had done, and then described the experience as enjoyable. The entry ended with a note that she had to get ready for church. I'll be honest, when I first read that, I had to sit with it for a moment. It's not just what she wrote, it's the complete absence of distress in how she wrote it. Just a flat, matter-of-fact account. And it turned out this wasn't impulsive either. A diary entry from the week before read like a warning nobody had seen, describing what would happen when she stopped containing what was building inside her. She had told a friend she was curious about what it would feel like to kill someone. Her YouTube page listed killing people among her hobbies. She had dug not 1 but 2 graves in those woods before any of this happened. 2 graves. Only 1 was used. The widely held theory, and one investigators took seriously, is that Alyssa's original targets were her 2 younger brothers. A video she had posted online showed her convincing her brothers to touch an electric fence, with a caption expressing anticipation at watching them get hurt. Elizabeth, it appears, may have simply been the person who showed up that day. On January 30th, 2012, Alyssa's trial began. She was tried as an adult and pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and an armed criminal action charge. Her confession was later suppressed, and her legal team accepted a plea arrangement. She was ultimately sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years for the weapons charge, meaning she wouldn't be eligible for parole for approximately 35 years. Elizabeth's father, who was incarcerated at the time of the murder, had written to the court asking for the maximum sentence. His reasoning was straightforward. His daughter had been given no chance at a life. The sentence handed to Alyssa meant she at least had the possibility of one. At sentencing, Alyssa addressed the Olten family. She said she was sorry. She said if she could trade her life to bring Elizabeth back, she would. The family sat in silence.
In the years since the trial, an uncomfortable conversation has developed online around Alyssa Bustamante, and one theory about why she did this was debated in court and has never fully been resolved.
Since the trial, Alyssa Bustamante has attracted a following online. Forum posts expressing admiration, people saying they would want to be friends with her, arguments that she deserves to be released. Conversations around rehabilitation and the justice system are worth having seriously, but there is something genuinely uncomfortable about directing that kind of sympathy towards someone who planned this, documented it, and described it as enjoyable. Elizabeth's mother, Patty, put it plainly. She described living with the loss as a life sentence of its own, one with no possibility of parole, no early release, no end. That's not a metaphor. That's just her reality. One debate that does deserve honest consideration and came up during the trial itself is the question of Alyssa's antidepressant use. At the time of the murder, she was on Prozac, and her dosage had been significantly increased just weeks before October 21st. Some studies have suggested that young people between 15 and 24 on certain antidepressants face a higher risk of violent behavior. One study put the figure at around 43% for that age group. It came up in court. Expert witnesses disagreed. The prosecution's main psychiatric witness stated there is no reliable scientific evidence linking Prozac to homicidal behavior. The judge did not accept it as a significant mitigating factor. My own view, for what it's worth, is that Alyssa's upbringing, her mental health struggles, and possibly her medication all played a role in shaping who she became. But I don't think any of that fully explains what she did. A lot of people carry difficult backgrounds and serious mental health challenges and never hurt anyone. The planning involved here, the graves dug in advance, the use of her 6-year-old sister to lure Elizabeth, the calm that followed, points to choices, not just circumstances. At the end of all of this, what I keep coming back to is Elizabeth Olten, 9 years old, rehearsing lines for a school play on the last evening of her life. She asked her mom if she could go outside for an hour before dinner, and her mom said yes. She deserved to finish that school play. She deserved to grow up. She never got the chance. Rest in peace, Elizabeth Olten.